What's up, y'all? This is the new series that I talked about. It is called State of Smash, or S.O.S. I think this is going to be weekly, or most likely bi-weekly, to talk about tournaments that have happened in the past, tournaments that are coming up, how players are doing, maybe games talking about either the patches that come out or what I think should happen with buffs and nerfs, but we'll see how far we get into this video and if we want to add that at the end. So first up, what I want to talk about is players that are doing well, that are better than we expect, and players that are doing worse than we'd expect them to be doing. I have them separated into two categories. Ones that their stocks are on the rise, because this would be a time where you're like, invest in these players. And then stocks that are falling, where it's like, ooh, I thought you'd be doing a little bit better. So starting with the stocks that are on the rise, we have Light, someone that most people, when they look at Fox in this game, they're like, wow, this character was built for Light and the way he played Fox in Smash 4. He had 3rd place at Glitch 6, 5th place at Genesis 6, 7th at Frostbite, and a recent 1st place at Nimbus last night. Incredible player, someone that I thought would do pretty well in this game as we saw him start to rise up the ranks towards the end of Smash 4's lifespan. But I thought he'd probably run into some trouble just because he didn't have the long experience of being a top player as some other people did. But right now he's got some of the best consistency in the game. I don't think he's placed outside of a top 8 at any of the events that he's attended. And I believe the only other person who might boast that while going to more than 2 tournaments is MKLeo. So Light's someone that I think Rogue picked him up recently for to be on their team. And that is probably an incredible investment for them because he's going to be strong for a very long time in this game, I believe. I don't think Fox is really going to get touched in balance patches, but we'll discuss that later. Next up for stocks on the rise is MKLeo, who I think is currently the best player in the game. He's definitely going to be seeded number 1 at events, but I don't think Tweak has an argument anymore after 2 of his placings not being within the top 6. MKLeo had a 1st at Smash Conference, 4th at Glitch 6, 1st at Genesis 6, and a 2nd at Frostbite to Tweak. Incredibly consistent player, the best Smash 4 player when the game was ending, and no surprise that he's going into this game being the Smash Master that he is and just wiping the floor with most people all of the time. There really isn't much else to say. MKLeo is just that good at Smash, and this game seems to complement the way he wants to play with Ike and Lucina, and Wolf, and probably a handful of other characters. So it only really gets better for him now. I think the big storyline going forward now is going to who challenges MKLeo for the top spot. Another player on the rise is Mirren. Obviously, you're someone who sticks with the character for a very long time. It gets buffed in this game. It's going to help your results a little bit. And I don't mean to say that Olimar is the reason that Mirren's doing well, because he's an incredibly skilled player, and he might be the best Olimar right now. 9th at Smash Conference United, 7th actually at Smash Conference United, 9th at Genesis, and 3rd at Frostbite. Incredibly strong player who is doing what some of the other Olimars can't. Shuton's also performing well, just not as well, I believe. And then DeBuzz is kind of floating in that weird, like, 9th to 17th range of the tournaments he goes to that are really stacked. But, like I said, Mirren, best Olimar, probably going to continue to do well if he continues to go to tournaments. This next one, I didn't know if I wanted to include it because it's only one U.S. tournament, but Mr. R got 4th at Nimbus yesterday, and that tournament was very stacked. Not as stacked as maybe Frostbite or Genesis, but still a 4th place there is really respectable, and it's not where I expected him to place, and I think that's why I put him on stocks on the rise. He's like, you would think, okay, if he ends up at like 7th to like 13th, it's like, okay, he's now in the U.S., he's still kind of developing like his characters. He doesn't know who he specifically wants to play all the time. Once he gets his feet on the ground, he's going to soar into top 10 like he stayed for most of Smash 4's lifespan. But 4th is higher than I expected. I don't know what he was seeded for the event, but I'm pleasantly surprised, and I think he's someone who's going to continue to do well. And I'm excited to see him in more tournaments because obviously this was just his first performance. Last up on stocks on the rise is ZD. ZD's a really strong Fox player from MDVA who did really well in his region all the time and just sat, I think, right under the cusp of being a top player. Like, he was at the top of being one of those high-level players where some people are like, oh, like if you're not good at the Fox matchup as a top player and you're running into ZD, he might give you some trouble, but it wasn't a like, man, I really have to spend my time studying for ZD in bracket because he's who I run into. It was usually you'd be looking around past him if you were a top player. But 33rd at Genesis, 25th at Frostbite. He did early on have a 5th at Glitch 6, and now he got 5th at Nimbus yesterday. But he's picked up really good wins. He's got a win on Zachary. He's got a win on Tweak. And I think he's got 1 or 2 big ones that I can't recall at the moment. But another person who, like Light, Fox really benefits the way they want to play the game. But that's it for everyone who I think is doing really well, considering where I thought they would end up, going just at the start of the game, and even continuing to place. I didn't think that Light's placings would continue to stay very high. I thought MKLeo might not be the best, but here we are. So let's go to stocks that are falling for players. Now I have 4 players in this category, and 2 of them, I still think they're really good. I think one is definitely still in top 5. One has the potential to be in top 10. They just had 1 bad placing, and then 2 others that are performing very poorly to where I expected them to be. So starting off with Tweak. Tweak, people still mention him in commentary every time he's playing, that he is the best player in the world, or most likely the best player in the world, and I don't think that that's true anymore. He did really well. He was a little dominant at the start of the game. He had a first place at Glitch 6, but a 9th at Genesis, a 1st at Frostbite, and then a 7th at Nimbus. I think Tweak is hands down top 5 players in the world. The problem is he's still suffering from the consistency issues he did in Smash 4 before we got to the last 6 months, year, where he really started to be strong and was consistently in that 1st to 3rd range, which if he can fix, he will be in contention for the best player. But right now I think it is solidly in MKLeo's favor, and the reason I put him in stocks are falling, even though I still think he's top 5, is because it seems sure. Everyone was like, Tweak is the best. Tweak is most likely winning Genesis. Tweak, who's going to be able to stop Tweak? And now it's like, you got to pick it up a little, maybe? I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh because we have a small sample size. But we also have to realize that if you do bad at 2 tournaments out of 5 or 6 that you've gone to, that's like a third or more than a third of what you've gone to now. Whereas in 6 months, 2 out of 20 tournaments you've gone to, those placings matter a little bit less. The other one that I have stocks are falling that I think is still a really good player is Zachary. He did have a great 5th place at Genesis 6, but a 33rd at Frostbite. I do not know who he lost to in winners, but he lost to ZD in losers. Another thing pushing ZD's stock up. Zachary is someone who I expected to perform a little bit better. If he had been sitting in the 9th to 17th range at Frostbite or even at Genesis, I would have been like, you know what, I understand. You're a young kid traveling to a new country on the biggest stages that you can imagine, and just nerves are getting to you. Because he talked about in his pre-top 8 video that he was incredibly nervous in his sets. But 33rd is a pretty big drop-off. I probably should go look at old Smash 4 results and see where Renai and Kin performed in their first tournaments in the US, just to see if there's any correlation there, because those are the best comparisons we can make to a Japanese Smash player coming over being their best and coming and showing what they can do here. The next 2 for stocks are falling are players that one kind of makes sense with what happened to his character and another not so much, but they've dropped off very hard from where they were in Smash 4. And the first up is Larry Lur. He had a 17th at Genesis, a 33rd at Frostbite, and a 17th at Nimbus yesterday. Larry was consistently top 15, if not higher, in Smash 4's lifespan, and now he's not even placing in top 15. I guess 17th, if you're the better of the 17ths, you're at that 14-15 range, but that doesn't really matter. He's someone who, it makes sense when you think about the way he used to play Fox and how methodical it was, and it wasn't so on top of your face. He was like, I'm going to get the most out of my situations that I can, but I'm going to play it very textbook. I'm going to try to force fair footstools as often as I can, and I don't say that in a way to mean that Larry went for cheese. If your character has the ability to kill someone at any percent and you can set that up, you 100% should be playing for that. If you only have to do 1 combo to kill someone instead of 3 or 4, why would you not look for it a lot of the time? But with the removal of that and just a more heavy aggro playstyle and more pushing the A button playstyle being the norm and what you should be trying to aim for with Fox, I understand where his results would go down a little bit, but this seems to be more of a drastic jump than I would have guessed. He's someone I think can bounce back from it, but I'm not very optimistic about it. And lastly, in the stocks are falling category is Elegant. Obviously, Tornado, in terms of using it as a recovery and as a gimping tool, being basically completely removed, hurts the character a ton, and the grab being changed. I didn't expect to see Elegant fall off this hard. A 193rd at Genesis 6 and a 49th at Frostbite. But it did take him a while to get his feet under him in Smash 4. Because he was playing for a good amount of time. Like, Con was considered the best Luigi for a long time until Elegant started showing up, and then Elegant was starting to actually threaten the top 5 players whenever they play sets. Like, you were very worried if you were playing Elegant because you knew every throw combo was going to do a ton of damage. Sometimes it would result in you dying. He was going to hit his gimps. His mashing was unmatched, so forth and so on. So maybe in some time we'll see him start to rise, figure out what he can do with the character. But just like Larry, I'm not too optimistic. I'm going to keep my eye on them both, but it's probably not looking too hot for those guys in Smash Ultimate. Next up, let's talk about Smash Summit, because after Nimbus concluded yesterday, now we have all 16 players that'll be going. The 6 invited players were Zero, MK Leo, Nairo for Smash 4, and then for Melee was Armada, Leffen, and Mewtwo King. The wildcard slots given to the top 4 finishers that hadn't already been invited at Genesis were Void finishing at 2nd, Sam at 3rd, Dabuz at 4th, and Zach Ray, who finished 5th, tied with Light, but beat him in the set to get the spot. Light ended up still getting a spot by winning Nimbus, and then the players voted in are Mango, Cosmos and Plup, and Gluttony and ZD. I don't know what really to say about Summit. Summit's going to be really fun. I've enjoyed every Melee Summit that's come out. The Smash 4 Bootcamp, which was essentially a Summit, was also very enjoyable. But in terms of the, competition, what these results mean, I'm pretty sure that this is not going to count for the first PGR released. It seems that the Melee crowd, they're very happy with using Summit as rankings, whereas the Smash 4 crowd, which now moved into Ultimate, has not enjoyed using invitationals as results to affect their rankings. So in the end, regardless of the results that happen here, it doesn't change rankings at the end of the day. It's kind of just giving us a glance of, okay, Armada, Leffen, Mewtwo King, Plup, Mango, what do you got? Can you take a set off of one of these players? Plup's been doing all right. I think he had a 49th at Genesis, and he had one more other good result that I can't recall at the moment. So he's looking like the strongest Melee player right now. But the top 4 or 6 of this event is going to be really interesting. We're going to get to see if ZD can prove himself against other top players. Having MK Leo, Nairo, Void, Sam, Zach Ray, and a Buzz will be fun. But like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter so much for the rankings. So enjoy this event on this weekend, because Summit is a blessing to the Smash community, but it's not anything that's really going to affect us long term. We are at 13 minutes, so I'm going to quickly do some stuff talking about an upcoming patch. We know that 4.0 is going to be coming by the end of April, and that's going to be, or 3.0, my bad, and that's going to be bringing Joker along into the game, and most likely some balance changes with it. I'm not going to comment specifically on buffs to characters because, one, I think it's hard to define exactly how you should buff a character besides hey, give me shorten the first active frame to 3 frames shorter on a couple of moves, because that happened to Marth and Mewtwo in Smash 4, and those characters instantly became viable and weren't too oppressive. But what I really don't like about discussing buffing is that when you nerf something, you have a concrete problem that you're fixing, and you know what the result's going to end up being. You are making a character, they're going to not be as strong, so you know where they're moving down the totem pole. When you buff a character, you don't know how far they're going up. Because small number changes seem insignificant, but they can be huge. Just a couple off of everything really changed how good Mewtwo and Marth were. A couple off of everything for Ganondorf and Shulk, I think, also happened in Smash 4, and nothing really happened to them. I think it also happened to Charizard a little bit in Smash 4, and it didn't really help him either, but do it on wrong 1 or 2 moves to allow different setups, new combos, just something that gives that character just a smidge of too much potential, and you can create another top 5 character. Obviously, they released Smash 4 Diddy in the way that he was built. They released Smash 4 Sheik, Smash 4's Luigi on release. So you can't catch everything. It's not very obvious when you're changing numbers what the end result's going to be, no matter how much testing you do beforehand, before you release it to the public. So that's why I don't like discussing buffs. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent about game balance. But for nerfs, two characters that I think could use a little bit is Peach and Pichu. Everyone else, I'm not 100% sure on what I would like to change about them. At least for these two characters, I believe that Peach, you can do either or both of these changes. You make it so when she starts floating, her aerials automatically get the short hop multiplier. That helps with her damage output not being as strong as it is, and makes some combos a little bit less true. That one's a very dangerous one because of the fact that you might change the combo game too much that you make her combos not true for a majority of using like Nair in combos, and that could be a big problem. So that's the one that I am not super excited to have to use if I had to make the choice. One that I'm more happy with would be down tilt is end lag, or its first activable frame is later. Because right now that is a move where she's just like slap, 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 or like it's not her hand anymore, it's like her leg, but she can throw it out very quickly. There's not a lot of end lag if you don't react immediately. It's very hard to punish. It's kind of like Diddy's down tilt in Smash 4, where their fix for that was just making it so it didn't combo as well and starts a little bit later. This one, I feel like the best change to her is fixing that, because that's a big combo tool for her that's just very easy to throw out. But everything else about her, I think she has a pretty decent weaknesses, at least when it's coming to disjoints and sword users. And Pichu, for the change that I suggested for Peach's down tilt, I suggested for Pichu's F tilt. I think Pichu, some people are considering maybe the best character in the game. I don't think that's a huge consensus amongst top players, at least the ones that I talked to at Genesis 6. It seems to be more so Peach. Just decrease or increase the first activable frame on F tilt. That move just being able to be tossed out at the ledge, and you can maybe shorten how active it is. I'd have to look at the exact frames if it's viable of taking 1 or 2 frames off of it, because you don't want to completely gut the move, because Pichu has such short range that even though he does have kill setups, you have to be on top of them with your lightweight character. Don't get me wrong, character's very small, but those are the two characters I would hit with nerfs for sure. Everyone else so far I'm not feeling is too out of line. Wario has his own shortcomings, even though his combo game is incredibly strong. I believe Ike has a lot of counterplay. The only reason we see someone doing super well with it is because it's Leo. We did see Ryuga get a 9th at Frostbite, but I don't think that character's broken. It's more so MK Leo being broken. Lucina is someone I want to hold my judgment out on, because it's a character that I don't enjoy watching that much. It feels like, okay, this character just has all of the tools, and they're just going to use those good tools that they have in every instance of the game to win the game. There's nothing very interesting about it. Like, I actually really enjoy watching like Olimar or Ike. We're actually going to get to Olimar after this. But Lucina, I have judgments that I can recognize, so I hold out what I think about changing her until I'm sure that it's me being, this is something that's healthier for the game, and it needs to change, and not just healthier for me is how I see it. But Olimar, boy, that up smash has to go. You should not be able to combo that into tons of other moves. It should not be as safe as it is on shield. I think that's really his biggest problem. The multiplier on his Pikmin throws for how many Pikmin you have and grab range is really good, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I think Olimar, a lot of people in Smash 4 didn't know exactly how to fight against him. Or I guess I shouldn't say they didn't know how to fight against him. They didn't know how to find and exploit his weaknesses, which I think will come out the longer this game is out. And I don't think Olimar is necessarily going to get worse, but people are going to get better at the matchup, so he won't be as dominant and threatening as he is right now. And I say dominant, getting like 3rd and 4th place finishes sometimes. But the up smash, just increase the first activable frame so the move's not as safe when someone blocks it, and also you don't have as much combo potential when you hit someone with it. But that's it for this video for State of Smash. All that's coming up this next week, as far as I know, for like big stuff, is the Summit. We'll probably be back next week talking about how Summit went, talking about where we think Melee players could go with this game if they're going to continue playing, how the best players at Summit looked. Zero playing again, Nairo, someone who I'm keeping my eye on because he's sitting in that like, all right, we think you're top 5, but you're never really placing in it spot. So we'll see. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you like this, if you want more content like this, if there's certain parts of this video you liked, you didn't like, any comments at all about it, or how you feel about players that are underperforming or overperforming expectations. But yeah, now I'm just rambling. I'm going to end the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.